Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Learn English with me, the weekly series where you ask me questions and I answer them. Maybe let's get to your first question this week. The first question this week comes from Gerardo Vega. Hi, Gerardo. Gerardo says, Hi, Brain. I'd like to know the difference between stare and look at. Thank you so much. Okay, yeah, nice question. So let's break down the differences between stare and look. Let's begin by reviewing the meaning of the verb to look. To look means to focus your eyes on something, to direct your eyes onto something. For example, we could say, look at the camera, or look over there, or look at this picture. It means to move your eyes and use them to focus your attention or direct your eyes in this direction or that direction. So, to look is the most basic way that we can talk about seeing something. It's about directing the eyes in some way. On the other hand, to stare means to direct your eyes on something and not move. So when we stare at something, we look at it for a very long time and with very strong focus. We use the word to stare when we're talking about looking at other people a lot. And this is often used to describe uncomfortable situations. Here's an example sentence. The staff stared at me while I ate my food in the restaurant. In this example, the staff in the restaurant just watched me without doing anything else while I ate my food. It's an uncomfortable situation, right? So when we stare at another person, it means we look at them, only at them, for a long time without stopping. When we say stare, it often has this feeling of uncomfortable levels of focus, or like the person being watched is doing something strange. You might feel like you're doing something strange, or it feels a little bit creepy somehow. When we stare at another person, we are watching them without looking at anything else. The focus is just on them. We tend to use this verb a lot when we're talking about other people, like he stared at her from across the room, or she stared at the man as he was walking down the street. So when we stare, it's often looking at someone very intently for a long period of time. On the other hand, look just means to use your eyes to move around, kind of. For example, if I said, the staff looked at me when I received my order, it sounds totally normal, right? You look at the person when you give them something. In that sentence, it sounds totally normal, like a typical situation. If I said, the staff stared at me as I took my order and went to my seat, it sounds like it's a little bit uncomfortable. So this is the difference between to look and to stare. I hope this helps you understand the differences between these two verbs. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. The next question comes from Tula. Hi, Tula. Tula says, what's the meaning of he has big shoes to fill? Nice question. We can use the expression he has big shoes to fill, or she has big shoes to fill, or you have big shoes to fill, usually in work situations, or perhaps in school situations. This is an expression that we use when one person is replacing another person. Let's use an example situation. Let's say person A has been working at a company for 10 years and they did a great job, but they've decided to change jobs. The company hires person B, a new person. Person A was so good at their job that many people really liked them. And now person B is going to take over that person's job and responsibilities. The co-workers at the company, or maybe the team members, might say to person B, you have big shoes to fill. This is saying you have a lot of responsibility now, and it's like saying the person who came before you was really great at their job. They did such a good job that it's going to be very, very hard for someone to replace them. One way to remember this expression is to think about how If someone has a big shoe, they have a big foot that goes inside it, right? If you have a big role or a big responsibility, it takes a big person to manage all those things. So you can imagine the role or the responsibility, like the person's job in this situation, as being like a big shoe. And the person in that shoe or in that job has to be a big enough person to handle everything. So when we say, wow, you have big shoes to fill, it means the person who came before you was really great, or lots of people loved that person. They did a great job, and now it's up to you to try to reach the same level as that person. This is a very positive expression. We use it to mean that person A was great, and we really liked them. We hope that you can do the same thing, but it's going to be a challenge. Some people might feel a little bit worried. If you're person B, you might think, oh gosh, everybody loved person A. I don't know if I can do this. But they might have a very supportive team, and it might be a good situation, so it kind of depends. Generally, if you are person A and someone says that about you, it means that people really appreciate you. If you're person B and someone says that, it means they have really high hopes or expectations, and the other person was really great. So this is what the expression big shoes to fill means. I hope that answers your question. Thanks very much for sending it along. Okay, let's move on to your next question. The next question comes from Paolo. Hi, Paolo. Paolo asks, could you tell me the difference between we told him to wake up by 6 a.m. and we told him to wake up at 6 a.m.? Thanks. Okay, the key difference here is by 6 a.m. and at 6 a.m. What is the difference? Let's start with at 6 a.m. So, we told him to wake up at 6 a.m. means at exactly 6 a.m. In the morning, 6 a.m. This person's alarm will go off and the person will wake up. That is, at 6 a.m. However, if we say by 6 a.m., it means 6 a.m. and any time before 6 a.m. So, 5 a.m. is okay. 4 a.m. is okay. 5:30, 5:45. Any time before 6 a.m. is also okay, but no later than 6 a.m. So this is the difference between by and at when we're talking about time. We could say, in other situations too, please call me back by 5 p.m. This means any time before 5 p.m. is okay. Please call me back at 5 p.m. means exactly 5 p.m. Please call me, so do not call me at 4 p.m. or 4 p.m. 30 or 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. Call me at exactly 5 a.m. So this is the difference between at and by. It's a really good one to keep in mind, so I hope that helps, and I hope that answers your question. Thanks so much for sending it along. Are you struggling to understand conversations in your target language? This video will improve your listening skills using practice dialogues. How do you know if your language skills are improving? Our team of teachers has designed a free quiz to determine your actual learning level, so click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for you. In this lesson, you'll listen to a dialogue with the text. Second, you'll review the key vocabulary followed by the English translations. And finally, you'll review the dialogue with the text again to master what you learned. First, listen to the dialogue with the text on the screen. Wow, I just had a bit of déjà vu. Oh yeah, I visited San Francisco years ago, and I remember walking down this road with some friends. We were eating some chocolate. What did you like most about San Francisco? The people. There's a diverse mix of people in the city, and that makes it all the more interesting. Now you will hear the key vocabulary followed by the English translation. Déjà vu. A feeling of having already experienced the present situation. Eating. Putting food into the mouth, chewing, and swallowing it. Purchased. To acquire something by paying for it. Mix. Two or more things that have been combined. Finally, let's review the dialogue again. See if you can understand more this time. Wow, I just had a bit of déjà vu. Oh yeah, I visited San Francisco years ago, and I remember walking down this road with some friends. We were eating some chocolate. What did you like most about San Francisco? The people. There's a diverse mix of people in the city, and that makes it all the more interesting. This is the end of the lesson. In this lesson, you improved your listening and mastered key vocabulary for everyday life conversations. Don't forget to click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for your learning level. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson. This is the E sound, and this is the I sound, both extremely important vowel sounds in American English. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to tell them apart. Plus, you'll be practicing them and on your way to perfect pronunciation. I'm Brain, and this is English pronunciation through minimal pairs. First is E. This is the E sound in eat, read, feel, and other words. I is the I sound in it, rid, fill, and other words. I and E are called front vowels because they're pronounced in the front part of your mouth to make the E sound. The teeth move slightly apart, the lips pull far back, and the front of the tongue moves up. The tongue does not touch the teeth or the roof of the mouth. A, 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 A. To make the I sound, the lips and teeth part slightly, and the front of the tongue moves toward the roof of the mouth. I. Learners tend to think the difference between these two sounds is about how long the vowel sound is, but really it's about the quality of the vowel sound. E is more tensed and I is more relaxed. When you say the vowel E, like in beat, your tongue is high up and towards the front of your mouth, and your lips are stretched out more. For the vowel I, like in bit, your tongue is a bit lower and your lips are more relaxed. So it's not about how long you hold the sound, but more about the position of your tongue and how you shape your lips. Listen to the difference and repeat after me. E, I, E, 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 I, E, I, E, E, E. So try to focus on the tenseness instead of the length when you pronounce these two sounds. Listen and repeat, or speak along with me. Ready? Beat, bit, sheep, ship, sheep, ship. Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud, then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Do you remember the sound that's more relaxed? I, and the more tensed sound, E, E. Let's practice. Compare the sounds in these two words. Which word has the more tensed sound, and which has the more relaxed sound? Beat, bit. Beat has the more tensed sound, and bit has the more relaxed sound. Let's try another. Sheep, ship. Ship has the more relaxed sound, and sheep has the more tensed sound. Let's try one more. Feel, fill. Feel has the more tensed sound, and fill has the more relaxed sound. Now listen to the following sentences. Which words have the more relaxed sound, and which have the more tensed sound? I want to eat it all up. I had to read the book before I got rid of it. Read the following sentence aloud, focusing on the different sounds. The reach of the rich was far and wide. Hi everybody, my name is Brain. In this video, I'm going to talk about the differences between present perfect tense and past perfect tense. Let's get started. Okay, first I want to talk about present perfect tense. We're going to look at two uses of this grammar point. First, we use present perfect tense to express an action or a condition that happened at some time in the past. So this is a non-specific action. If we imagine this on a timeline, it might look like this. Here's the timeline we're going to use for this lesson. We have the past, the present, and the future here. If we imagine this use of present perfect, which we use for life experiences, like travel experiences or job experiences, it might look like this. So I have in blue dots here all of this space before the present, and a question mark here too. This question mark refers to not knowing or it not being important when an action happened. So this is the first use of present perfect tense, to talk about something that happened at some time in the past when the when is not important or we don't know. Now let's look at the second use of present perfect. We use this to express an action that started in the past and continues to the present, or the effects of the action continue to the present. So what does this look like on a timeline? Here in red is this use of present perfect. We mark the starting point here with this check, and then the wavy line shows the action is continuing. This continues to the present, so this type of present perfect is used to show things that started sometime in the past and that are still true now, or they're continuing now. Okay, so let's look at how we create present perfect tense, and then we'll take a look at some example sentences and break them down. First, with present perfect tense, you need to think about your subject. If your subject is I, you, we, or they, we follow it with have. To make the sentence negative, not goes in this position, and then we follow this with a past participle verb. If the subject of the sentence is he, she, or it, we follow it with has. Again, not is in this position after has, and again we end with the past participle verb form. To make a present perfect continuous structure, we use been in the past participle verb form and follow it with a continuous verb. So you can think of replacing this part, past participle verb, with been, which is the past participle form of be, and follow it with the ing form of a verb. Okay, so let's take a look at some example sentences and break down what's happening here. I have been to France. I have been to France. Here my subject is I, and we follow with have. The past participle verb is been, so be becomes been. I have been to France. This sentence reflects use number 1 of present perfect tense. So the speaker here is talking about general life experience. I have been to France, when it's not important, or maybe they don't remember. They were very young, but they just want to express that life experience. I have been to France sometime before now. That's use number 1 of present perfect. Let's look at another example. She has not finished her homework. She has not finished her homework. Here we have a negative. So this sentence is she followed by has. In this case, the negative is she has not. The past participle verb is finished. So she has not finished her homework. This sentence shows a negative condition or a negative experience, something that is not true. In this case, she has not finished her homework at any time before the present. You might also see a sentence like this with yet at the end. She has not finished her homework yet. That shows we expect she's going to finish her homework, but it has not happened yet. So this expresses that lack of life experience. No experience in this case, not being finished with homework. All right, let's look at the next example sentence. We have worked here for 5 years. We have worked here for 5 years. It follows this pattern. We have worked here for 5 years. This sentence includes this for 5 years point. So, for 5 years, or you might also see a since point in time structure, helps us to know that it's talking about a continuing action or a continuing condition. That's use number 2 of present perfect. We have worked here for 5 years. This shows us that 5 years ago was the start point for the action, and then the action continued to the present. A common question about a sentence like this is, can I use the continuous form here, like we have been working here for 5 years? Yes, there are some verbs that are okay to use in this form and in the continuous form. Some very common examples are live and work. So this sentence would be okay in continuous as well. We have worked here for 5 years. So this shows our continuing action and the length of time the action has continued. Okay, let's look at one more example sentence. They have not been sleeping well. They have not been sleeping well. Here we have a negative and a continuous form. So, they have not been sleeping well. What does this mean? This means starting from some point in the past, we don't know exactly when, maybe they have not been sleeping well recently, or they have not been sleeping well lately would be common. This condition, not sleeping well, has continued for some period of time. They have not been sleeping well. So we use present perfect in these two ways: to talk about general life experience or no life experience, and to talk about actions and conditions that started in the past and continue to the present. With this in mind, let's look now at past perfect tense and see how we use this one. Again, I want to talk about two uses of past perfect here. So the first one, we use past perfect to express an action or condition that happened before another past action. This means we use past perfect to show the sequence of past actions, one action happening before another action. We use past perfect to help us do this. On a timeline, we can imagine it like this. Here's our past, present, and future. Use number 1 is here in blue. So we use past perfect to represent action 1 in this situation. Action 1 happens, and then action 2 happens. So we want to talk about two past tense actions. We describe the first action or condition with past perfect tense and use simple past tense for the second action. We'll see an example sentence that shows us this later. Now let's look at the second use here. This is in continuous and past perfect continuous. We use past perfect continuous to express an action or condition that started in the past and continued until another past action changed or interrupted it. So what does this mean? Until another past action changed or interrupted it. Let's look at this on the timeline again. We have action 1 and action 2 here. So with this use, action 1 started here at the checkpoint. This is where action 1 started. The wavy line shows the action continued in the past, then action 2 happened. Something caused action 1 stopped, or maybe it caused action 2 to change in some way. So we use simple past tense for action 2. Action 1 expresses the continuing past action, while action 2 expresses the change. Again, we'll see an example of this in just a moment. All right, let's quickly refresh our minds on how to make this grammar, and then we'll go to our example sentences. We don't need to worry about different subjects like I, you, he, and she. We can just use subject plus had. To make it negative, we use not in this position, and then we end with a past participle verb. To create the continuous or progressive form of this grammar, we use be in this position and follow with an ing verb. Let's take a look at some example sentences and break down what's happening. First one, I had been to France by the time I graduated from college. I had been to France by the time I graduated from college. So, what are the two actions in this sentence? First, I had been to France. Here is my past perfect action. I had been. In this case, been is my past participle verb. I had been to France, and the second action is by the time I graduated.